What's up, gold miners? In today's episode, I have the privilege of welcoming my good friend, longtime friend, and realtor slash real estate team leader slash real estate investor extraordinaire. This dude owns 8 very successful businesses, and in today's episode, we're gonna dive in and talk about his journey from realtor to real estate team leader to real estate investor. We're also gonna go into in depth some of the things that he's doing on the development side of things in San Diego. And to top it all off, we have a discussion around artificial intelligence, AI, and how he is using it right now in his real estate business as well as his real estate investing business. So without further ado, everyone, Mark Pattison. Mark.
Yes.
Welcome to the Gould Mine.
Thanks for having me.
Man, I'm so excited to have you on because we've known each other for quite some time now. I feel like it's been 7 years, 8 years. I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Probably from my start of my career.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We
and
started around the same time.
I still know nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here, dude. You know a little bit more than I do.
I'm like, what? Yeah. I'm like, what the heck is going on? No.
That's awesome, man. Well, so you built a real estate team, very successful real estate team. You have a lot of different businesses now, and you also are a very successful real estate investor. So at what point did you decide to take the realtor hat? Because, you know, a lot of realtors, they don't get high on their own supply. You know, there's a lot of realtors who like rent and like don't really own any real estate. So like at what point did you decide, hey, I'm not just going to be a salesperson, I'm going to be an investor?
Yeah, I think for me, it's always been in my blood to where I knew I'd never wanted to be a renter. So something my parents have always ingrained in me is like, you don't rent from people, you buy. So I bought my first place at 20 years old when I was a college student at Seattle U, because it was cheaper to pay the mortgage than it was to live in the dorms. So I obviously had to have my dad co-sign. We got to the closing table and they're like, yeah, your closing costs are $12,000 something. I'm like, what are closing costs? No one told me about this. I was like, Dad, can I borrow some money? I had my down payment money. So that was like, literally my parents still say shit about that. And I'm like, I paid you back. Shut up. I didn't know. So yeah, that was my first purchase. So I've always been quote unquote an investor, but I mean, that was $249,000. Funny thing is I bought that in 2006. So as we know, 2007, 2008. So I kept that property though. Held it for 13 years. I ended up making $160,000 profit. Yeah. So that's something is like, my dad always said, which I also didn't know, real estate went down. And when I say my dad told me this or that, my dad's not some real estate investor. He's not some like guru or anything. He actually has zero real estate background. He's just a blue collar, works his butt off, you know, says, hey, real estate goes down, it'll come back up. Don't worry. Right. So I kept it, whereas a lot of people let their place go back. And mind you, I was losing money each month when I had it as a rental. You know, I was losing maybe like $100 here, $200 there. Something would break. So it wasn't like amazing being this young 20-something-year-old having this like negative cash flow asset when you're already broke. But I ended up selling it and making a shit ton of money. And I'm like, you know what? If you can buy real estate in the worst freaking time ever and still make $160,000 off a $20,000 investment, pretty freaking good. Right. So I've been hooked ever since.
You know, and so let's just do the math on that real quick. So you said 160, how many?
I made 163,000 profit, and my down payment and closing costs and everything, I think was like maybe 18,000.
Okay. So that was an 8X on your initial money, on your initial down, right? So an 8X return on investment over a 16-year period, you said?
No, it was 13. Shit, I would have to say maybe 13 years, maybe 13. Less. Yeah. I sold it in 2020 and I bought it in 2007. It was probably about 12 years total.
I mean, that's a really high return rate. That's a really high return rate.
In the worst time ever to buy.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. It just is crazy. Well, the thing about it is that because it's OPM, you're making money off other people's money. Mm-hmm. You can go and look at the stock market and people are like, oh, well, if you go to S&P, you get 10% return over X amount of years average. Yeah, but you're only making 10% return on your money. Correct. You're not making, with real estate, you're making 10% return on all of the money that you happen to borrow. And yes, there's cost, but you know what? My tenant paid all those costs. So I may have not had a cash flowing asset, but the equity was building up over time. So, and when you do have a cash flowing asset and you're building equity, dude, it's freaking mind blowing how much money you can make.
Your story wasn't always sunshines and rainbows though. I saw on your Instagram, at some point you were like $70,000 in debt and still managed to go from that to, don't you own a Ferrari now, bro?
No, but
pretty much, right?
No, I have a poor Ferrari. I have a Porsche.
Okay, there we go.
But I did go look at Ferraris like not that long ago.
That's what our buddy Jay told me. And he's like, hey, he's test driving Ferraris.
I know. But my thing is I could get one, but I want more properties. I have this like thing where I just constantly want more. And so I'm not going to go buy an expensive car. I have a few cars right now and they all add up to probably more than a Ferrari, but it's also not just one car. Can't have a Ferrari be my daily driver.
I mean, some people do it, maybe. Right? Some people do it.
I'm in Southern California.
But how did you do it, Mark? How did you go? How did you go from $70,000 in debt to now being a very, very successful business person across a variety of different businesses?
Funny thing is I was just looking at what's on my credit card right now because I was like, $70,000 when I was younger seemed like so much freaking money. Now I have just month to date. In 13 days, I have $79,000 in charges on my credit card. That's one credit card.
Yeah.
That's not my personal, but still, it's funny like how things have changed and how much more expenses. So what it was I was always like a yes person. I always said, if someone's like, oh, you want to go to Kenya and go climb, and then go into Tanzania and climb Kilimanjaro, I'm like, fuck, let's do it. Charge that shit. Like, let's go. So I did that a lot. And I had been to, now I'm at 85 countries. So I think a lot of that debt was not because of like poor choices. It was travel and fun. And I was in my 20s. And I don't suggest to anyone to get into debt because it just sits and lingers and you're paying way more than what you're actually borrowing. So you got to be cautious. But in my opinion, I would do it again. And then pivot closer to 30. I'm like, oh shit, I got to get a career that I love and where I can find the returns that I think I deserve. I was working in corporate world. You just never, climbing the corporate ladder, you just don't get what you can get in real estate or being your own boss. And so I changed that up, got into real estate now about, I want to say, I should check when I got my license. I think it was 2015. So it's been about a little over 8 years. And just like put my head down and sold houses.
In that time, you have gone from solo agent. At what point did you decide, I don't want to just sell houses, I want to build a team?
I was at a Tom Ferry conference. It was a Sales Edge in La Jolla. It was my first Tom Ferry conference. And this girl was sitting in front of me. She heard me talking about a client I had. And she's like, wait, well, who's your client? My client was a famous person. And she's like, oh my gosh. Mind you, I never sold that person a house. Sucks. Oh well. But I was like talking about it and she turns around and then we ended up forming a team. It was like the dumbest combination ever. But oh my God, we like each other. We should form a team tomorrow. We've sold 12 houses total. Let's do this. That's kind of how it was, I think. I mean, I had not had much experience and I was like, all right. So I ended up forming this team. I think I had sold like 24 houses in a year, which is a pretty solid agent for my first year, especially year one in Southern California. And then I built my team right after that. And it was more of a traction. Like people just started coming to my team, asking me for advice. And as you know, there's always new people in the industry. And from that OG team, there's still 2 people that are still on my team 7 years later, which is pretty cool.
That is awesome. Yeah, especially because the attrition rate's pretty high in the industry. So that's awesome, man. So since then, you've built up quite a portfolio of real estate, mostly short-term rentals. So what made you decide to get into that space? What was it about short-term rentals that drew you or attracted you to it? I
mean, look at the hotel game. It's just, you're killing it. I mean, you look at like, I think Hilton's numbers, it was something like they can have 93% vacancy and still be profitable. It's like, it's something ridiculous on like their numbers across, because obviously they've got a ton of properties that they've, owned / manage. And over the years, obviously you can have much higher returns for those properties, but you just look and see what you can get when it's a rental versus it being a short-term rental. And long-term rental in California, you have tenants and issues, and not saying that's not what you have in Southern California with short-term, but you control the narrative a lot more when they're not your tenant. And I don't ever want to have, one, the cash flow is higher, but two, I don't want to ever have to like be at the mercy of someone paying rent and just deciding, oh, I don't want to pay rent anymore. It even happens in short-term rental game. We've got to be cautious with that. I own a short-term rental company called 31 Beaches, and that, if a tenant decides to stay, which is happening in LA with a lady, I don't know if you've seen that in Brentwood.
I heard about this. Yes, I researched
like
it.
500 days has not paid, and she's demanding $100,000 to be moved out. That kind of stuff. Like, one, that should be completely illegal. Oh, I know. I told them I was gonna play Taylor Swift vigilante shit. Go there, break out the windows of that house, and just like throw smoke bombs in there. And people are like, "Do you know the owner?" And I was like, "No, I don't know the owner. I'm just doing vigilante shit for him, helping him out." I was like, so if you guys hear this on the news, my alibi was we were all here at my house, right? But I was like, who takes advantage of people like that? It's not like that dude isn't paying his mortgage. And even if he doesn't have a mortgage, people are like, oh, I don't feel bad for the rich guy. You're like, shit, you don't know where he came from.
Right.
Even if he came from money, like, I'm sorry, like, you still don't have this right to not pay. And that's what, in the world of like long-term, short-term, kind of makes me a little nervous in California.
Yeah.
I thankfully, knock on wood, have never encountered that. But my short-term rental numbers are about 2.7 times what I could make even after all the expenses of running the operation and having a manager run it. It's 2.7x what I could rent it for long-term.
Interesting. So your returns are 2.7x higher with the short-term rentals than they are with like a regular rental. So question for you, when you're analyzing a deal though, are you analyzing it based on the short-term rental numbers, or are you analyzing it based on the medium to long-term rental numbers, and then like the short-term is just gravy? Like how do you underwrite or analyze those deals?
All three.
Okay.
Because you always, in my opinion, according to my previous coach Mike, thank you for this, always have plan B in place. If short-term rentals all of a sudden, like in Southern California, San Diego, the city, they took out, I think, 10,000 units.
Right.
Now you have to have a permit. So always have that plan B. If you had 10 short-term rentals, you would have had to get rid of 9 if you had them all in the city. Obviously, there's some ways to kind of figure it out, but you're not doing it legally. Like you're breaking the rules. But so if someone kept all those short-term rentals, which I got rid of mine, I kept some of them in Southern California, but I only have one in my name in San Diego. I have them outside of the city and I have them in other places, but you can technically only have one. So when I run my numbers, I look at short-term rental, I look at medium-term rental, which would be, nursing homes, insurance claims, etc. Not nursing homes, travel nurses. And then the last one would be long-term. So I'll go through and I'll do all my own data. I never trust the current owner's numbers or the listing agent's numbers of what their cap rate is or what their cap rate potential could be, because they want to fluff that up so that it looks like, hey, look how good of a deal this is. Because obviously the higher the cap rate, the better. And if you have that, I mean, like you can't trust someone's numbers. You can't trust someone's P&L. You can ask for like their bank statements and see shit. And I highly suggest that if you're buying something, because whatever they're presenting to you, they can make that up. Right. Yeah. So I do a lot of due diligence on that aspect, and I never thought I was an analytic. And then I look at it, I'm like, actually, I'm really good at this. Like, and also I have that innate, like I can walk into a place. So I have this company, Got Fixers is my fix and flip team. I can walk into a place and be like, okay, that wall can go that way. This can go that way. And they're like, well, what if that's structural? I'm like, no, the roof line goes that way. I'm like, no. And I can like figure that out in like probably 10 minutes for a whole layout and find out how to maximize the rental income from there. And now I'm also using an app called Neighbor. So we're renting parking spots at these places and gaining like $100, $150 per month. Okay, well, multiply that by like 20, 30. So I'm getting like $3,000 more a month off of just like storage and parking from neighbors in the area on these properties. And I'm fucking pocketing. It's like almost $40,000 profit a year.
That's really fascinating. What's the name of that app again? Or what's the name of that?
Neighbor or Neighbors. Neigh. Yeah, it's just called Neighbor.
So what, they're like parking their car in your garage or like on the driveway or what?
Yeah, so I have in like hip neighborhoods, if you have an extra parking spot or if you have an Airbnb where they don't need the parking spots, you just lease it out and you can post it on Neighbor.
Interesting. Yeah,
so
because
mine is not in a garage. Yeah, mine's if you have a garage, you can do it. You can do like boat storage, you can do RV storage, you can do all these little things. And yeah, $150, but it's all controlled through the app. All the instructions are in there. It takes me zero time. So for an extra $36,000 a year, hell yeah. Like once it's in there, I just get these like auto deposits coming in.
That's super sweet. Sweet.
You wonder, shit, I just thought of something. What if you like arbitrage and do this and you go and you rent people spots for like $50 and then you go and post them up for $100?
It's actually not bad.
It's little numbers, so it's small thinking, but that multiplied.
It could work.
Yeah, especially in our market because there's no parking.
In San Diego.
Yeah, it's super hard for parking. Like it's not easy to find parking. And they're building all these buildings. So like talking about development and where I'm going now, I'm building 82 unit apartment complex a block away from here. And then this here is approved for 74 units.
Really?
So that's, and it's like 74 units and 13 parking spots or 18 parking spots. It's really little. It's kind of sad because they want it to be more of a walking community, but San Diego's so spread out. So there's the opportunity there, but like something like that will cost us around 10 million to build, but it'll be like a $50 million exit. Like once it's all, 10 years out, you have to hold it for 10 years, SB 800, turn it into rentals, then you sell it off. And this is all new for me. Like I was selling 1-bedroom condos 4 years ago. So this is like, I'm learning.
It's the next step. Yeah,
not the expert, but yeah, just surround yourself with the right people and really vet your business partners is my advice. Like you can't just take people's word for it. You need to bring in attorneys. You need to bring in, like when you start getting into business partnerships, make sure you have a term sheet. Make sure you have an operating agreement. If you're buying property, buy it tenants in common. Make sure you have that labeled out. Talk to a title rep on how you should take tenancy and figuring out or how you should take ownership and title. And they'll help you guide you the right way. Because if you screw up or something is shady, like you need to have, like I said, all the plan B options for exit strategies and things go awry. That's definitely something I'm learning through this venture.
So this is a ground up. You're doing 2 ground ups right now.
Yeah, three
of them.
They're not all like in construction, but yeah, I have 3 pieces of land that I own, and all 3 of them are going to be ground up construction.
How do you? So for someone that's like thinking, okay, I would like to be a developer someday. You just said it yourself.
Too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. So you're just starting to get your feet wet with all of this. Like, what's the first step, and what are some lessons that you've already learned along the way that someone who is just thinking about it would benefit from?
Become friends with the city. Figure out what new communities, city planning, where they're going to be actually zoning certain things. So Opportunity Zone was a huge thing that happened across America. Where they went in, you could reinvest money, double down the cash. 10 years, you can basically exit out without paying any capital gains on it. So there's like all these different opportunities throughout the country. So find out what's going on in your community. For example, in our city, it's called Complete Communities. It's only in the city of San Diego. And what it was to address the housing issue. But what you can do is basically build a shit ton of units with no height limit. Obviously, there's, within parameters. And you're allowed to take, for example, we have 2 single family houses that we bought. We're combining the lots.
Okay.
We're getting rid of those homes.
Yep.
And we're gonna build up 82 units on 2 single family house. So it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and like a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house.
Wow.
And now it's gonna be 82 units straight up in the air with 18 parking spots.
That must have been a very nominal acquisition for the amount of cash flow that's going to receive. Do you mind sharing numbers? I'll
pull them up. Yeah. Let me. I won't I'm not going to share the screen on it, but at least so I can have it off the top of my head. Because my numbers are probably kind of sloppy. Let me look and see. So yeah, the first
He's doing it live, everyone.
Let me look.
This is raw.
All right. So the purchase price for the lots, for both of them, one was 2.2 million. And I say lots, it was actually a house.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it was single family.
Yeah, but it's going to be torn down. I want to save it and actually relocate it to a different property. But it was total was 3.85 million.
Okay.
So what we did was we did $400,000 down on both houses.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just, got debt for the rest of them.
Yep.
So just doing like a typical loan. It's not a 30-year fix. It's just a regular deal.
Yep.
And then pulling all of that together, getting all the entitlement. So that means getting mechanical, engineer, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all of it done, getting it stamped by the city with the back and forth notes. So then once you have everything done from the city and you have the package, it's fully entitled, or it's called RTI, like ready to issue. So that's ready to issue permits. Once you have all of that value of those two properties skyrockets, because it shows like the city's approved this. So then you can either go and shop it to a developer, someone who knows what they're doing, or keep it in-house and keep going and try to do it on your own, which in my opinion, like, I don't know where I'm going to do, like, if I'm going to do this whole thing or if we're going to sell it off, because it's out of my realm.
Right.
But if you did keep it, there's a law in, maybe it's just California, but for 10 years, essentially, if you were to sell those off as condos, the person could then come after you for 10 years. They could come after the developer, the architect, the builder, for different reasons. If there was anything that was wrong that they had litigation on. But if you own the property, and you have plumbing issues or whatever, you just go after the person, you go after their bond, you get it fixed, and then the tenants just have to deal with it, etc. After 10 years, the statute of limitations runs out. So you can then sell those properties off. So that's when you kind of condominiumize it, give each one an APN, and then you then sell them off, or you sell off the whole project together.
I see.
But for us, that all-in investment, I think, let me get these numbers. It's 22 million total, between land cost, hard costs, soft costs, the financing and contingencies. All in is going to be 22 million. The loan that we're going to have on all that is around 14.5 million. So it's about 7.7 million in cash and in investors that come in. So whether we put it in the cash, I don't have 7.7 million.
Yep.
If I sold everything and started an OnlyFans, no, I'd get probably $0. No. So I'd have investors come in, pay the rest of that cash, or like I said, you have that full package that you can just sell off, and then sell it to an investor, probably for probably 6 million. Only bought it for 3.2. Held it for a year.
Yeah. So 3.2 plus your, plus all of the back and forth with the city, because that costs money too, right? So,
yeah, all of the, and with the architect and the engineers and everything, because you have to pay all those consultants. So that's probably about let me look. It's probably about, I think it's around like 700,000
for all of the fees, consultants and everything that.
But as you go, the other thing too that's amazing is like you get these to be part owners of it. So it's a lot of like they're just giving you the work for free and then they get a percentage. So that's a much bigger, so it's a cheaper way to do it and it's less. And then also if you have the builder or the architect being part of the build, the city actually gives you credits, or I'm sorry, lenders do. So it shows like they have more equity in. So you're basically like creating fake money.
I see.
Because you get builder credits. So they're like, oh, well, you're not charged this, so you don't have to actually pay that, but we can take this off of that. So actually you have this much equity in there, so then you don't have to do it. That's how a lot of the people do it.
Interesting.
So that 7.7 million, if you get those partners in on it, you don't actually have to come up with 7.7 million.
And then they're incentivized too to do the best job possible because they're now partners in it.
Yeah. There's an entire restaurant group here in San Diego called Consortium. And they just bought a freaking 120 or 140 unit hotel that was from the 40s. They redid the whole thing. I think they spent 60 million on it. Yeah. But they have, I think, around 20 restaurants around San Diego. And all of the restaurants are like the most beautiful, stunning places you've ever been in. And you're like, this restaurant owner is an idiot. Like they overbuilt for sure. And they're like, no. The contractors are actually part owners. So all of the work is amazing, but they're part owners on it. That's why. So they're getting it at like dirt cheap, and they're getting it as credits versus it being like they're actually paying out of their pocket.
That's super fascinating.
Smart. I know. That's what I want to start doing for like a bunch of other shit as well. Like with flips, like, you know, sometimes people are too greedy and they don't want to give away a part of the pie, but you can get so much more. Just like I said, vet your partners, vet who you're working with, have attorneys come in every scenario possible if something happens. Yeah. That's the only thing that scares me a little bit with all this is like the partnerships scare me. Yeah.
I mean, actually I'm going through this right now with, I've got two, I don't know if you know this, I have 2 hotels under contract right now in Memphis. And so I'm looking for, well, I found a KP, I found a partner, but it took me a while to vet everyone. And still, like, I mean, I like the guy, I think he's cool, but like, I don't know what I don't know. Right. So I've vetted him to the best of my abilities. What are the steps that you've taken in the partnerships that you've had in the past that have, and this is for like my own personal knowledge too, like what steps have you taken to vet your partners to make sure that you're getting in bed with the right people?
Yeah. So I've only had 2 partnerships. Well, 3 if you include my start of my real estate team when the girl was like, wait, who's your client? That only lasted like a month. So when I'm going in and vetting someone, some rules that I've learned is like, and I don't even know if this is how you would do it, because honestly, I'm so new at this, but it would be like character references and like really doing your research on these people. Going on, if you don't have the app, Forewarn, you can look up like anyone and everyone. It can pull up all of their records. So if they've ever had money laundering, or if they've had any issues, or 3 divorces, or, you know, it's like, not saying any of that is like necessarily like a bad thing on one or the other, maybe the money laundering. Yeah, but it just shows you who you're getting in bed with. Like you're like, what's actually happening? Yeah. So like on that, I would definitely have that aspect. And then also like, give me your proof of like proof of concept. Like, have you done this before? Because some people that are in sales, we're really good at making people believe in our ideas. And like an idea and like, if you haven't done it yet, especially at the realm of $27 million or $24 million, like you can really screw up some shit. Yep. Like 5 delays, you know, could really throw all your money down the drain. And then you're just stuck there with the fucking half done building.
Right. And there are projects like, I mean, you see them all the time, right? Where like halfway through, they just run out of money. And it's like a half baked building. And you're like, what happened?
That's all over Mexico. Yeah. You see like a fucking high rise and you're like, that's been a high rise. There's one right off like south of the border here, right on the ocean. And it's been like that for at least 10 years since I've been here. And it was like luxury condos. They were like pre-selling these condos off. So people were buying into a pre-build and then never finished. What happened to their money? I don't know.
Yeah, that's rough. That's oof. Anyways, all right, cool. Yeah. So that's good. So you use Forewarn. That's actually, you know what? I know someone else was telling me about Forewarn. I've used like Been Verified, but
yeah, I've Been Verified. I think is like it's like a amateur. I think Forewarn is like FBI kind of level. Like you can look up like Justin Bieber and get his cell phone number and call Justin Bieber. There's like legal issues. Like if you do it though, like you basically can't use, like you sign all these documents in Forewarn, like you can't use it for your benefit. It's all these weird things. So if you go out there and try to find someone's phone number and do call, like you can get in fucking big trouble.
I see. Yeah. Gotcha. So they have like basically like NDAs or whatever, confidentiality agreements or something. Interesting. Cool, man. So let's take a step back real quick and talk about just like the shifting landscape right now in the real estate world in general. So there's quite a bit of uncertainty as to what's going to happen with the real estate market. And since you've been in it both as a buyer and as a salesperson, right? And as a seller, right? So you've experienced many different aspects or facets of the market. What is your prognosis for the situation that we're currently in? And what would your advice be to anyone who's investing or salespeople, right? Like both, like realtors and investors like.
Yeah, as a chief global economist, no. I actually have no freaking clue what's going on, but you know what? Put your head down, sell some more houses. I think always, no matter if the market's good, bad, shifting, whatever, you need to have your reserves in place and you need to make sure that your finances are in order. Everything always needs to have a backup plan. For example, all of my properties can run self-sufficient. I mean, when COVID hit, that was a no shit moment. That was definitely an unknown when I just kept seeing cancellation come across from all my short-term rentals. And I'm like, oh shit. This is real. But I had reserves to pay each mortgage. So like each place I have different accounts for. So like all my rentals have 6 months reserves, all my stuff. And whether it's like being invested, because I just don't want it to sit there. I typically keep about a month or two of just liquid. And then the rest is typically in EXP stocks, or like I'll have it, but it's liquid enough to where I can pull it if I need it.
Gotcha.
But I don't ever have it where it's like just where I'm like, oh shit, I need to sell a house to make my payments. Like, don't ever get yourself in that situation. So if you're buying now, is it more risky because we don't know what could happen if you're just trying to flip it or do something? Yes. If you're buying and holding, my personal opinion is you're going to be fine. What's the worst thing that happens? Like if you have to have a house or if you have rental and it's covering it and the prices go down. Remember my property I bought in 2008? Well, 2007, properties went down. You just hold it longer. Yeah, it may not be the ideal, but you're not going to lose money. You only lose money if you sell less than what you bought it at. And you don't have to do that if you planned correctly. As for stuff, we're still buying houses. Like right now, I probably have 3 flips going on, maybe 4. So my team got fixers. We have 17 callers. There's definitely people out there. You can do seller financing. There's a lot of interesting ways that you can get into the market right now. And I mean, if you follow Barbara Corcoran at all, I think she's great. I look up to her a lot. She, you just freaking refi. So worst case scenario, prices drop. Okay, hold the property because you had plan B, because when you bought the property, you did long-term, short-term, and middle term, maybe even if you lived in it, and then you had reserves. So you can't go wrong with real estate. Like you could obviously buy in a dying market, make sure the population's increasing, make sure that there's maybe, military or something that's consistent in your area. But then you go from there and you just keep doing it. And it's like, shit, how did I get from where, 8 years ago having $70,000 in debt to now having $70,000 in 13 days in debt? I don't know. You just keep moving along. And I think people look at me or someone, I look at others, I feel like I'm a minion, but people may say like, oh, how are you doing this 82 unit apartment complex? And I'm like, I mean, I surrounded myself with the right builder, the right architect, the right consultants, and we're just doing it step by step. You just learn little by little. And then whatever you don't know, you can look it up on AI. create me this and do this. So if you're not on ChatGPT and you're not paying the $20 extra a month, you're crazy. You can figure out majority of your life on AI. All of your life's problems can be solved.
So except for what?
I don't know, mental and emotional. I don't know. Yeah. Not yet.
Not yet, but it could get there. I really do think it could.
Yeah.
I really do.
I do want like an AI heart. I need something to like care for like others, not like physical heart, but like the emotional heart. I don't have that aspect. No.
I think you're selling yourself short there, man. But, actually speaking of AI, so, it's really cool. So I've got a cool story for you, and I'm sure that you've got some cool AI stories too, but have you ever like gone through a legal document before and like just you're staring at it and you're trying to put your like, best reading glasses on, trying to like dissect it all, but like you're just kind of staring there and you're like, well, what am I reading right now? Kind of thing where you're like everyone, you can get through most of it, but then some of it you're just like, I have no idea what this is saying. So that happened to me on this last contract that I was reading through. So I'd cut and paste a few paragraphs into it that I was like, I have no idea what this is saying. And then I'd say, break it down for me in layman's terms. And it would spit out like in layman's terms, this is what this means. And so it like reinterpret. So it was really cool, man. Like it was just like a really practical use case for me. So that was pretty interesting. Any fun or cool AI stories that you've got?
I was actually just going to throw an RPA in here and see if I can get, which is a purchase agreement in California. And I was like, well, let's see if this will summarize this for us.
Get well.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now I have 2 employees that work on AI. Their job is to basically discover how can we make the real estate process smoother, whether it's lending. So I've got 2 pretty freaking cool things. I have an AI company for real estate agents that you're going to be able to pay a monthly subscription fee to. I'm thinking it's going to be around $99 for like our platform. And then you can have a la carte options as you have a team. But things like creating new listing forms, creating new marketing, it's going to be integrated with Canva. So you'll be able to generate everything and anything that you need. Plus, it's going to have every single real estate prompt updated regularly. A lot of the things that you see when you're buying like a prompt book, those things are so like, it's going to be outdated in a day because it's always updating. So we're going to have ours live on a website that you log into. You'll have a membership. And then from there, you'll be able to get anything and everything for real estate related. And it's prompts as in like creating a listing description, creating this, but it'll all have plugins to your MLS. So you can actually like pull data. So that's where I like it. And it also can give you summaries of your market. So you don't have to go out. You just can have one spot that's kind of tell you like your daily dashboard. How many new listings, how many this, like it can pull from everywhere. So you're fine. You don't have to go out there and search for it.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool, man.
Registered. All we're doing is just now, we already have it all done. It's just making sure like now we have to like package it to make it look better.
Right.
But guy that actually works one room over, Christian, he's going to head the whole thing. It's his project, but we're going to come together and kind of come up with this like entire enterprise for agents, all based off AI.
That's super smart. I mean, this is the future. If you are like, by the way, it was less than a year ago that all of this shit like really started popping off. And here we are 9 months later. It feels like the advancement in just these like we were just talking about it before we hopped on here, this Imagine art tool, like it is insane what like it's creating images and graphics and all these things that like it looks like a professional picture, like a real life photo, but it's not.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely insane.
Well, I mean, also, so some things that we'll have is like our AI will go into Follow Up Boss and it listens to call recordings and it labels it green, yellow, or red, and then it ranks it out of 10. So it'll basically be whether the call was a good call.
My God.
And it'll also summarize everything into an email and it'll auto generate that. And so all you have to do is hit send, but it'll be like, like, hey, Danny, great chatting with you about 123 Main Street. The next steps to get your house on the market are blah, 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 blah. Whatever you guys talked about, it's going to summarize it for you. It already does it for our team.
That's so cool.
And then all you have to do is press enter. And then also the sales manager gets the summary calls. So then you can go and see like, okay, these top agents are the ones having the best calls. These bottom agents are the ones having the worst calls. The crazy thing about all of this and all of the data that's all going into it, it's training our AI to where it's just going to be doing the dials for us. Like it's going to have the conversations.
Right.
So it already does it. It's just a little delayed. So it can have a full blown conversation and make your dials for you and your follow-ups and your nurtures. So it will not replace agents. It'll replace shitty agents. So if you're not stepping your game up, like get ready. Like there's gonna be a lot of agents out of the market because we just won't need them to do what we need to do.
Yeah. Like call centers will be a thing of the past here pretty soon.
Like probably in about a couple months.
Yeah.
So I had a friend that was talking about he's creating an ISA company right now. And I'm like, I would not be doing that, dude. I'd take all that money that you're thinking about putting into a ISA company and put it into an AI company and do that. One, you won't, I mean, it's going to be the wave. And no matter what, the shitty thing is like, what are all these people going to do for work? Like the entire workforce industry is going to shift.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see.
It's crazy, man. Is that through air.ai or is that another service that you guys are creating on your own or like the call function of it?
Yeah. I would have to actually ask, Christian. I don't know. Sorry about that. I know that our call, like the way it ranks our calls is through ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It's through a plugin. So I don't know how, if it's through Air AI though.
Gotcha. Okay. No worries. Yeah. I just, they keep coming up on my Facebook feed, but it's really like, it really is the future, There's no other way to like say it. It's just like how you're having like a computer's having a full blown like personalized conversation. I had that Air AI call me, so you can do like a trial with it, and I was having a full blown conversation with it, and it freaked me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of freaky. It was kind of freaky.
I mean, it is a little, this is the one actually that we were talking about. This is the one, but no, we don't use this, but this is the one that we're listening to. It's a little bit delayed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like,
we listened to this a couple of days ago, but it's slightly, but it's going to be, was it the Tesla one?
I don't, what do you mean the Tesla one?
I think Tesla uses Air AI for their reps. It'll be like, hey, Danny, I saw you're on our website. This is Mark from Tesla. And he's like, oh yeah. Hey man. It's like, so are you interested in checking a car out at one of our places soon? And it's an AI talking for Tesla. And the person, the consumer does not know. It's delayed a little bit, but it's not like a rude delay. It's not enough to where the guy that was on the other line didn't have any qualms about it at all.
Yeah, I know. For me, it was like maybe a split second delay. And it was noticeable, but only because I knew it. Yeah, I know. And what I was thinking is like, wow, this is 9 months in. I can only imagine what like 9 months from now is going to be like. There won't be a delay. There won't be a delay. It's going to be.
There won't be a delay in like a couple weeks. Like how fast it's insane what is happening. Yeah, it's going to be it's the .com boom. It's that idea. There's going to be a ton of them that are going to come out. And they're all trying to fight for all of our things. And it's like, which one should I use or what does what? You can use a bunch of different base models of things, but I think ChatGPT for me, it's just been the easiest for, obviously Air AI is like something completely different, but the idea behind it is like, just get your bases down. If you need to summarize a PDF, if you want to create an image for an open house, whatever you need to do, like it can all be done.
So you're building an AI company for real estate agents. Do you see any use cases or things that investors might be able to use AI for right now?
Yeah, you could summarize a pro forma. So if you get something from someone and you get maybe 2 different properties and you throw it into AI, you could be like, which one's a better investment? What's my cap rate? What's my gross rent multiplier? What's my cash on cash return? Well, what if I put in 20% down payment? Okay, what if I do 15% down? Now, November 18th, 5% down on multi-units.
Yeah.
So that's going to be huge for a lot of buyers. If you're a young investor and you don't have much money to put down, and if you want to summarize what would be the better investment, actually, I do this on my Instagram channel. We started looking at properties where would I buy it, would I invest, or would I pass? And I explain within 30 seconds as why I'd buy this place or why I'd pass on it.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my thing on like basically just like rapid fire to show you like how you need to think. But if your mind doesn't think, not saying like, but like I said, I do it enough to where like I can look at something and be like, nope, not an option. Yep. But I can run the numbers so quickly in my head that I'm doing that. But that's what AI can do for you.
Right.
But I think even though AI is doing it for you, I think you should still understand it.
100%. That's kind of the part where I'm like, at what point? So for example, you've got a bunch of kids in school right now who are using ChatGPT to write their things for them, their essays or whatever. So my question is, and this is just like a theoretical question, like more like a philosophical one. At what point, it's like the calculator, so like now we're so used to using the calculator that like almost like basic arithmetic is almost not even necessary, right? But like what do you need to know? Like what is the necessary base knowledge before you start leaning into AI? And I think that's something that we still have to figure out, like across all industries.
Half of America already is the dumbest fucking people in the world. So
hey, you said
no offense. I'm sorry, America. Go travel a little bit and you'll realize how bad American education is. So if people are scared about kids writing their essays on AI, like I think they should be. I think writing an essay is a fucking waste of time, but they should at least know how to figure out the research and where to get things. Mm-hmm. But why would you have like a Dewey Decimal System in a library when I can fucking go to Google? Mm-hmm. Like I agree. Libraries, like I love that the aesthetic. I love the community aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But like majority of the stuff that's in a library, by the time it's in a book, the way that AI and everything is happening now, it's moving too quickly to even print something about it. Like it's going to be outdated immediately. So imagine if you had like books on it, it'd just be irrelevant. And that's how like advertising is going to be. It's going to be so fast. And that's what I think about real estate. And I think about, that's why like regular brokerages are broken, because you have this broker who was maybe a badass 40 years ago, and real estate's different today. The buyer, when I first started out in real estate, people are like, wait, people in my office, where'd you find that client? I'm like, Zillow. And they're like, you found them from online? Like, they're not going to buy. Like, an online buyer found you and they're going to buy a house from you. And I'm like, yeah. And same with the other 3 escrows that I have right now. And they're like, wait, hold on. And I became one of the biggest agents in that office like that. And all these older agents had not been doing that shit. They weren't even claiming their sales on Zillow. I was like, you guys need to make sure your profile's there, your photos. And they're like, no one shops online for houses. Well, that's funny. That office is closed now, which I drive by and I'm like, haha. So yeah, you got to adapt with the times. Like 100%. Students using AI for shit. Like they're going to be using AI in the workplace. So yeah, they should be using AI in school, because at my office, if you don't have AI on your phone, I'm like, what the hell are you doing? I don't want to pay you an hour to write a freaking blog. Figure it out on AI in 2 seconds. Read it, make sure it makes sense, and you need to have that, but don't take your time to actually write it.
I wrote 3 ebooks yesterday evening.
See?
And
I'm writing a book right now, actually.
Yeah? But like you're actually writing it, not AI.
I'll never tell.
Yeah.
No, I'm writing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
You'll be able to tell because of all the grammar mistakes. Yeah. I'm doing it on purpose so you know it's me. No.
So, I have a question for you that kind of ties into everything that we've been talking about. And it really has to do with like mistakes that you've made, because obviously you've had a lot of success, but like that success hasn't come without like some mistakes, I'm assuming. So like if you had to look back on your investing career, we're not talking real estate sales, but if you had to look back on your investing career, what is the singular biggest mistake? And don't say that you didn't buy sooner. What's the singular biggest mistake that you made along the journey in your investing career?
I would say I got too caught up in just like the small mindset, or thinking like maybe that wasn't possible. So we look at like the 82 unit and we're like, oh my gosh, like how is that possible to get this like $7 million and to do this? You're like, okay, but then look at the fucking like, and this is only 7 stories. Look at the like 80 story buildings that are being built. Look at the hotels that have 4,000 rooms in Vegas. Like they're no different than us. They're just more experienced, but anyone can do it. You just have to like slowly but surely get there. And it's not impossible to achieve that.
Love it. So
yeah,
don't be afraid.
Don't doubt yourself.
Don't be afraid to dream big. That's, I think that's really great advice, man, because I've immersed myself into a couple of different investing groups and whatnot. And it's really crazy, because there's like just everyone there wants to be an investor, right? Like that's the first, like if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you want to be an investor. But in that group, there's actually a variety of different limiting beliefs that exist. And one of the biggest ones has to do with like giving yourself permission to like accept that you're capable or deserving of having X, right? Like some guy on my call the other day on this coaching call that I was a part of, he was freaking out over buying a $1.5 million apartment building, and nothing against him, right? But I was like, dude, that is like less than the median sales price of a single family home in my market. And he was like freaking out about buying a fourplex that was like 1.5 million. And so it's interesting to hear you say that, because I think that there are these like limiting beliefs around money. And if you can just like take a step back and realize, okay, well, any building out there, like someone, so if like the example that you gave in Vegas, someone made it there that had it worse than me, and they still got there, right? So like Same thing with what you just said with all the hotels and stuff in San Diego, or like the apartment buildings in San Diego. It's like, dude, like if they can do that, why can't I? Right. So it's like a different mindset. So he's like, this is why I can't, because it's a lot of money, but it's like someone else did it. So why can't I? So it's like a different mindset.
Yeah, it always, I mean, it's all, and it's like I said, surround yourself with the right people, but also don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, no one knows everything. And if you're not asking questions, it doesn't mean you're stupid. How do you think you learn? When you're a kid, you're curious. You know how many questions little kids ask? Like, they ask like a question every 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Because they want to learn. You should be that kid. Obviously, don't be an asshole, like someone who just like ask. I had to like tell this to one of my employees. I'm like, Manny, you're so curious about things, which is great, but it's almost like interrogating. Like, be cautious how many questions you answer back to back or ask back to back without having a conversation. So understand your audience, understand, like, if anything that you want to study now, if you want to like put emphasis on things that you can learn about, money, people, human interaction, I would probably go more towards predictive index, like understanding each personality type. That's where you're going to be able to make money. Like, AI is going to take over all the automation, but there's still going to be the human aspect, and you're still going to have to be able to have like some of that, even though more and more is getting eliminated.
Slightly switching gears right now. So we know each other on a very personal level, and I know that you are very different than most people because you have like 5 or 6 and now maybe even more business. I don't even know how many businesses you have anymore, and they're all very successful.
8.
Okay, 8. Awesome.
No, they're all, I'm like in debt, and no, it's going fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I have eight different businesses.
So you have 8 different businesses, which, most people, it's like overwhelming to just juggle one. So let's pretend for a second that...
Is there a control freak? I have no controls. I don't care. It'll work out. It's like I'm a stoner mindset, but I don't smoke weed. It'll work out.
It's all good, man.
But yeah. What was your question on it? Sorry.
No, that's all good.
That's kind of like the thing you have to do.
No, but that's the punchline right there. It's right. It's like, yeah, because you're a control freak. That's those of you listening back home. No. So my question to you was: there's a lot of people who have a day job, right? Who make a lot of money. They're wealthy, right? Or rich, or whatever you want to say. But they don't necessarily have the bandwidth that you do to like juggle like a bunch of different things or whatever. So what would your advice be to someone who is curious or wants to invest in real estate, but doesn't really have the time to do it?
Find yourself someone like me or Danny and have a professional do it. So if you're an attorney or a doctor or you're in tech and you're like, yeah, I make, X amount per year. I've got all this extra cash.
Yeah.
Find someone that you can partner with that actually knows what they're doing. Because real estate, if you're not in it and you got your pulse on the market, like I said, you're like, you can't buy wrong, but you can. You can for sure buy the wrong place just because you're not in it. And like what we think is like, just like basic knowledge is not. Like, we sell ourselves short on how much we actually know.
Right.
How in tune we are with what's happening and what places are having development issues and what places are having things passed like that. Like, that takes day in and day out of knowledge. And picking the right agent. Like, when people just think you're having a buyer's agent because you found them at an open house and they're cute and you really get along, like, that's the worst mistake you possibly could have. If they don't know their shit, like, you're investing $800,000, $900,000 that could go like to 1.2 or could go to like 950. Like, do you want to make 300 grand on this first purchase that you're about to make, or do you want to make like nothing for your first home? Like, that's because your agent is just trying to get a sale and because you met them at an open house and you like them. So find someone that you can trust, that knows their shit, that understands real estate, that understands investing, that's not going to tell you to buy everything that they see. They're going to tell you like, this is a great deal. Like, you should buy this one. Don't buy that one. Don't buy that one. And you got to listen to their advice. And I mean, you don't have to do everything, but like if someone is going to say, don't buy something, I had a client, I was like, I wouldn't buy that one. And they bought it. And to be honest, I don't think they're going to be able to like get what they want out of it or the rents they're going to want out of it. I just don't see that type of tenant being able to increase to pay the rents that you want. Even though, like I said about the listing agent, they said, oh, the rents could be this. I'm like, yeah, but the market rent, look what's available. Like, you got to check all that shit out. You got to know the areas and know what's happening. People think, oh, this area is going to gentrify and change. It's like, that takes many years. It's 10, 20, 30 years before a neighborhood becomes quote unquote nicer or safe to where your rents are going to be enough. So find the right people. Find someone like me. I actually don't want to help any investors, but I'll get you a great agent on my team. But yeah, that's what you have to like essentially find someone that even has the time. Because the really good investors, we're not going to go and take a client. Like we're just going to go and find the money ourselves.
Right. So, and actually, so that was going to be my next question is like, so for someone that is super invested in their work and don't have a lot of time, you would still say like, go out there and buy just like a residential unit here in San Diego. You'd say like, oh yeah, let's go buy like a duplex or a triplex kind of thing. That would be like your gut instinct. Yep.
Because your job, unless you're inventing some tech or doing something crazy, like you're really not going to make a shit ton of money. And real wealth comes from 90% of Americans. Real wealth comes from real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why we have the disparities between like whites and blacks is like with slavery and land ownership, and they weren't given land. How do you build wealth in life? Where does your family's wealth come from? Where did your parents help you? When I went to the closing table and I had to borrow 12 grand from my parents, like that came from generations of land ownership that they built up wealth to where 12 grand is absolutely nothing to them. But to a family that never had property, that's detrimental to them. Like it's not possible. So real estate is always the answer. And like, if you're the first person in your family to buy real estate, buy it and buy more of it, because it'll change the trajectory of your family and where they're, the people that you leave. And I mean, like, think right now, if I can build my real estate portfolio up to $50 million, like net, whether I have it, debt on it, whatever, and I leave that to my niece and nephew, they're stepping up to like a fucking $50 million baseline. And you know what you can do with the $50 million, like to not have to start that from scratch. And that's what all these, like, that's what I was like, talk about people. I'm like, dude, you don't even realize how good you have it. We have generations of wealth from real estate. So just shut your mouth. Like, that's how I think sometimes. I'm like, and if you're not buying real estate and you have the opportunity, you're just as bad. Mm-hmm. There's nothing out there that's as good as real estate. So buy more at all times, in my opinion.
That's
stocks,
awesome,
like, what are you going to buy? What are you going to buy 100 grand in stocks in something that if like the president of that company you bought a stock in stubs their toe, the freaking stock market goes, oh, let's lower this price because the company just doesn't seem as stable. Like stupid shit happens. Right. The dude on what was it? HBO's Sex and the City. I didn't see the movie, but the guy died on a Peloton. And I think it was a Peloton, and Peloton stock dropped.
Yeah. Right.
It's a movie. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So stocks crazy. To me, like, no thanks.
Yeah.
The benefits of real estate, buying buildings, look into cost segregation, which is accelerated depreciation. You can get your taxes like very low through real estate.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a real estate professional. You have to dedicate a certain number of hours, but look that up. I definitely suggest if you are in another field, start pivoting to where real estate's more your main field. The tax advantages for real estate professionals is much greater than a traditional person.
Yeah. And on that note, actually, so if you're married, it doesn't even have to be you, correct? It could be your spouse. That's the real estate professional. Yeah. If that's what I'm understanding. By the way, we're not, the disclaimer or whatever, like we're not tax professionals. Talk to your CPA, but
I don't even pay taxes. I don't know anything about taxes. No. I've never paid my taxes ever, and I've never served jury duty. I'm kidding.
Do you even live here? Yeah.
Am I AI? No.
Yeah.
I've never served jury duty ever.
That's crazy.
But I have paid my taxes every single year. I've never been behind. I'm about to pay my taxes on Monday. They're due, by the way. I think the 16th. Yeah. For anyone who had that extension, get on that.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I think Luke took care of it. Luke, if you're watching this,
more money, more problems. Biggie Smalls. I'm like, how do rich people? I always say this to like my assistants. We always like joke around. And I'm like, how do rich people like actually do stuff? Like, I'm not rich, and I just feel like it's just like so much like mail and things. And I'm like, how do you do it? You got to have a fucking system and be organized. If anything, take an organization class like on how to organize everything, and hire a badass assistant or two. That'll save your life.
Yeah, you gotta have a full-time like personal assistant that knows how to deal with all that BS at some point. You have
I have two, and I have a bookkeeper full time, and I have an accountant, and I have a CPA, and I have CPA, and I have a wealth manager.
Yeah. So
yeah, you literally have to have like all these people, and I tell them, be on my ass, like, because I won't remember that this is this. I'll put it in my calendars and stuff, but I don't want to know like on the 16th. I think that's the day our taxes are due. Because of the
because the 15th is a Sunday, so then that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but surround yourself, like I said, even with your partners, your crew needs to be solid.
Love it, man. Well, we're running up on time and want to be respectful of that. But before I let you go, in traditional fashion, what is one final golden nugget that you have for our audience? Go.
Woo. One thing. Shit. Learn. I would say be a sponge. Like people ask me how many masterminds I'm going to or doing things. I have a mastermind coming up in Austin, Texas in November. I'm presenting. I've got a lot of other great speakers coming. Be a sponge. Go to events. Learn. If you don't know, ask questions. Like my dad always said, there's no such thing as a stupid question, just stupid people. Which is all. So ask questions. Your question's not stupid. Like people always say like, oh, this might be a dumb question. I'm like, well, the question's not dumb. You are. No. As a joke. But no, ask questions. It's fine to be stupid. You don't become smart by just faking it. Like you got to learn, you got to be around the right people, and just don't be like, oh, I feel stupid for asking this because I'm too scared that I don't know this because I'm an adult and I've already bought 12 houses and I just don't know what this means. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll look at a closing statement. I'm like, wait, what's this? And they're like, don't you own a real estate company? I'm like, listen, I also have a whole bunch of other shit in my life. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do? Like, that you're cooler than me? I don't care.
Yeah.
You're smarter? I don't give a shit. We're not in high school.
Yep. Love that.
So.
Love it.
Ask questions. Be a sponge.
Awesome, man. Well, for those that are looking to connect with you online, how can they find you? What's the best way for them to do that?
Instagram is my best way. So Mark Pattison Show. So I'm sure the link will be maybe on YouTube or something, but yeah, Mark Pattison Show, Pattison. And hopefully you can learn something from there. I always try to do some investment talk on there, have guest speakers, do YouTube, the normal stuff.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, this has been awesome. I'm really glad that we were able to do this. And thanks for your time, brother.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me, and happy Friday. I'm about to go play some kickball, slosh ball.
Friday the 13th. Ooh. Wow.